As promised, in this little video clip, we're going to be taking a look at configuring the columns you've created. I went through those very fast in the previous video, so let's just take a step back and go and look at those columns. In this list, I'm going to go to list settings, and this is the list I created in our previous little video that we created, of course. So let's first go. Keep in mind that this short description was actually my title column that I renamed. Okay, so when I go to comments, let's look at the different settings. Firstly, I can add a description. That little description shows at the top of your column to give a person a guideline as to what they want to complete. You can set up whether it's required or not and number of lines of editing. Working with SharePoint for a couple of years tells me straight out that that means nothing. It actually doesn't limit the number of lines. It actually is more based on characters. This is also where you can specify plain text, rich text, or enhanced text for the specific column. Remember, it's a multiple line column. So let's look at the next type of column. So that's multiple lines. If I look at choice columns, the different options that I have there is that I can also say required or not, enforce unique values or not. So two people can't choose the same value. Very seldom that's applicable. I can choose the display choice being drop-down menu, radio buttons or checkboxes. Radio buttons are used for 3 or less choices, which will look exactly like this. Checkboxes is if someone must be able to select multiples of them. Allow fill-in choices is when you don't have all the choices and they fill in their own value. And then default value is if you wanted to display a default value. That always works if you have things like documents that are automatically in draft status if they're uploaded. Let's have a look at days since incident, which is a number column. So on number columns, again, you can set it as required. You can set minimum and maximum numbers as well. So you can say it must be between 10. How many decimal places it must show? Is it a number or is it a calculated value? And then also must it show it as a percentage, because maybe it's a percentage completed column. So that's in numbers. Then currency, of course, you can set, and I did show that in the previous video. Currency, again, minimum maximums can be set, number of decimal places can be set, and then also I can set what type of currency it is. It normally picks this up from your tenant, by the way, so that could be regional settings that's set on your tenant as well, the currencies. Then date and time. So let's have a look at date and time columns. Date and time can be set to date only or date and time. This is very important if you run workflows and things against it and you don't want it to show those seconds. Good thing to keep in mind to keep to date only. Then of course display format standard is when it says 2018-05-22. Friendly would be 22 May, if that makes sense. You can put default values in as well and calculated values as well, which is pretty cool. That's date and time. Let's look at the YesNo Tick Box. So YesNo Tick Box, pretty much you're going to have to set it to one of the values. If you don't want to force one of the values, then I'd rather create a choice and leave it blank so that they have to choose one. So at the moment it's set to default value no. That's YesNo Tick Boxes. Personal group fields can be set, again, required, etc., etc. Multiple selections. Do you want to allow multiple people to be selected? Is it people only or people and groups? So can they select a whole group of people? And then you can also limit it. This choose from limits you to only pick from specific people in a group, which is pretty amazing if you want to pick a group of approvers, etc. And then also show field. This is based on your Active Directory. So you can actually, when someone picks a person, it returns their telephone number, for example. So that's pretty cool. So that's personal group picker. And then hyperlink or picture, we have the option to say if it's a picture that we're pointing to, it must actually show the picture. So maybe you're putting a link in to a passport photo or something, or I don't know, some image somewhere. So there you can actually display it either as a hyperlink or as a picture. And then I added a quick calculated column as well, just after the previous video. So in calculated columns, of course, you can go and select the columns that you wanted to use to calculate, and then your configuration options are how it must show the results. Is it a single line of text, number, currency, date and time, or yes or no? In this example, I've deducted 2 days from each other, which means it'll be a number that it'll show, and then I can also show the decimals. So that's a very, very quick run through on the different configurations for your columns. We will be looking at more of the other type of columns in the next videos.